What's going on, Asian Mo? Welcome back to Beyond the 90, and we have a mini season on our hand. And you're already thinking, Neil, 6 games in, what are you talking about? Because we're not even coming to November by the end of this. We'll just get into November. Why are we talking about a mini season already? Normally we talk about that towards the end of the season. Here's why. Let's go to the fixtures. So you might have seen already. Obviously, the next game we've got is against Bournemouth. And we'll be talking about that in a little bit more detail and comparing it to one of the teams we actually played last season. Then after that, we have oh, that's terrible. Southampton away. Then we've got Man United, we've got Nottingham Forest, Man United in the Cup, which a bit of a throwaway game because let's be honest, the main one we couldn't concentrate on is the Ipswich game. Now, of all these games, you think about the teams we've played recently. We've actually played Bournemouth this year in the EFL Cup, I want to say. We'll get into that in a second. Another team that we've played, Southampton. Bearing in mind, we've battered them twice. 4-1 and then 5-0 at home. Nottingham Forest, probably the hardest game of the lot, obviously, of the Premier League games. And after that, Ipswich. So of all of those, you're looking at them going, okay, this is an opportunity for us to really pick up points. Now, as things stand at the moment, we are just hovering above the relegation zone. Let me just get this up. At the end of the day, if we get to the end of the season in 17th, that's all that matters as long as we don't get relegated. Let me get the table up at the moment. And as you can see, Crystal Palace are in the relegation zone, Southampton are in the relegation zone, and Wolves are in the relegation zone. But it's still quite tight down the bottom. Where we are on 17th place, if we get a win, that jumps us up quite high, obviously, depending on other people lose, etc., etc. But it jumps us up a little bit. Our running, obviously, hasn't been as kind after this. We've got to start picking up the points now. And I know the fan base is split at the moment, and especially more online. I'd say there's more people calling for Cooper compared to when you go to the ground. I'm not giving my opinion. I just want to see change. I want to see us pick up points, and I want to see us win. It's as simple as that. However that comes, we just need to get wins. Now, a couple of those teams have just played each other. You're looking at probably a couple of teams. So Bournemouth, who are playing next, on Monday played against Southampton, and they battered them 3-0, 3-1, sorry, 3-0 by like 43 minutes or so. It was quite incredible, to be honest. So they've got a game kind of, I won't say in hand, but they've had a little bit less rest. We should be able to capitalize that, in my opinion. Let's go back to this one in September. So it was a 3-1 result. The reason why I'm bringing this up is A, they played it the last game they played, and B, the team that we're playing after Bournemouth is Southampton. So we're getting a good idea of what kind of teams it's going to be. So as you can see here, again, Otara, who was linked to us on the last day of the season. Oh, no, last day of January 2023, I believe, or if anybody can remember as well. But with Southampton, I'm not going to touch on them too much because we already know how they play. They haven't changed. Russell Martin is very, very dogmatic with his philosophy. But it's giving them the opportunity to really get some in as well, really get the opportunity. Obviously, they lost Dominic Solanke recently, but Evan Nielsen is the brilliant striker again for 40 million. So they've lost Dominic Solanke and they bought this guy in for 2/3 that price. And you look at this team, it's not too unchanged from you look at the team that we played. I'll bring in this in a second. So, again, it's quite a strong team. Kepa, who again I completely forgot plays, but he's starting up in goal. Smith, Zabanieri, Senesi. I think Cook is a good player for them. Tavernier, I think I was speaking to a Bournemouth fan. He basically says, last year we got relegated. He mentioned that if Tavernier stays fit, we stay in the Premier League. And they did. Semenyo's been pulling up trees as well. Kirkes, they've got quite a young team. Has got some experience throughout, but they've got some genuine experience there as well. And they absolutely battered Nottingham Forest, Southampton. Now, a lot of those players are from the team that we know. Again, Harwood Bellis linked with us, didn't quite get him. Cornet, Maxwell Cornet, I imagine. Ryan Fraser. We've Ben Narek was actually part, I believe, of the the 9-0 team that we destroyed. Stuart Downs. So again, they've got some players here and some decent quality. But overall in this game, let me see if I can bring up the stats for that one. Looking at these statistics, again, it is the tale of Russell Martin. What do we mean by that? Well, they had more possession, but they didn't do anything with it. So they had 59% possession in the game. But look at Bournemouth. Shots above, shots on target above, shots off target side below. But in general, more touching the opposition boxes. Russell Martin is the player that potentially Enzo Maresca thinks he is. And the reason why I bring up Bournemouth and why this is an important game for us, it's an opportunity to pick up points, especially at home. You look at Steve Cooper last year, and he turned the City ground. Yeah, so the year before and the year after, he turned the City ground into a fortress. Now we're hoping to do the same thing with the King Power. It means picking up points now. There isn't any excuses. People were still saying excuses against Everton, which I thought wasn't really acceptable. The fact that they had very little team and yet we had more possession, they had more shots on target, kind of similar to Russell Martin, but nowhere near as extreme. And I could see Russell Martin get absolutely smashed this season. For me, that's a massive game, but we'll probably come on to that back after the international break. Now, if you can remember last year, we actually played Bournemouth and we played a heavily rotated team in the EFL Cup, FA Cup 5th round. Then we progressed from this. We actually won the game 1-0 with Fatal, one of the best strikes we've seen. But I just want to bring up something just to make people remember. We started with a Frankenstein of a team. This is basically a majority of that was second team. Let's be honest. Marcel wasn't, again, didn't barely play any games this season. Cannon was another player. Again, he was on the fringes, let's be honest. Albright was on the fringes. Pratt was on the fringes. Atgun used to come on about 30 minutes or so, but didn't feature too much. Reiki, again, as a young player we bought from Aston Villa. Was transfer on a free transfer. He was playing as a CDM, actually got subbed, I believe, at 45 minutes for Ricardo. Remember him? Him and Ricardo, actually. Cody Vestergaard, Doyle, and Chowdhury. So we all know how they worked. And we went toe-to-toe with some similar players. Let me get this up. So if you look, there are some similar players that started this game that also started in that. Zabanieri, Senese, Kirkes, Utara. So there's a few players that have moved that are there, but again, the spine of that team and the majority of the team that played against us this time in January also played in that. Now, what can I remember about the game? The game was pretty even. It was 50-50. It was kind of a tale of attrition. Towards the first half, it was quite 50-50. We made some issues. We lost the ball. I think Reiki, remember losing the ball in some positions. He was subbed off at half time, but I'm still glad he got the 45 minutes. In this game, if I get the match stats up, again, as kind of the possession, etc., it was pretty. Look, if you look across this, it was pretty similar. It was a 1-1 game, but you imagine we had how many shots in the game? 49 shots in total in the game. Didn't quite work out, but we won this game 1-0. We progressed in extra time. Now, at the end of the day, we were all looking at that going, it doesn't really matter if we go far in the FA Cup. We just want to we just want to show what we can do against a decent Premier League team. And Bournemouth at the time was a Premier League team ready for this season when we got into the Premier League, and now we are. This is the test, in my opinion. Bournemouth are going to obviously play a full-strength team, stronger than they did, but the team that we have at the moment that he should start is stronger than that team. Towards the end, when we scored the goal, he did make the substitution. So if I look at those players he brought on Ricardo Pereira, he brought on Ben Nelson for Dennis Pratt, he brought on Kelechi Iheanacho and Fatau. So he did make the team stronger, but not stupidly much more stronger. Players like Kian Dewsbury Hall wasn't available. Wilfred Ndidi, I believe, wasn't here as well. So for me, this is the Richter. This is the measuring stick. We played against them before. Yes, they have a weakened team, and yes, we had a weakened team. how far is this system gone from where we were? Am I expecting us to play? No, but I'm going to be honest. I'm expecting a few points. I'm expecting at least 1 point from this game. We can't really afford to lose it in the position we are. And Bournemouth are a good team, but we need to start getting points on the board now. Um, there isn't an excuse. Let's be honest. We just need to go and get points. Now, how do we set up against them? For me, that's going to be really telling. This game and the Southampton game, especially the Southampton game, with how bad they've been, and they've just not adapted to Premier League football, or not adapted and changed, or in a way that really getting the best out of Premier League. Yes, they're playing attacking football, but they're just getting smashed pretty much every week. What do we do now? So I was thinking about this. Like in terms of formation, we know he likes a 4-2-3-1. But even against Everton, we put again El Canoes in, and it just didn't work. So what do we do with a team that again played well in parts, but at the same time, we did some positions that I was like, I don't know why we're playing this. So let me bring up the team that I think will play. That I would, well, if I would play, I'd play Ricardo, but we know that's not going to happen. Under him under Steve Cooper. So this is how I expect him to set up, and it's kind of similar to what we saw um, against. And this is what I'd like to see as kind of a hybrid between what players I'd play and players that Steve Cooper would play. Let's be honest, that back four isn't changing. Vestergaard probably isn't getting anywhere near the team. Connor Cody probably isn't as well. It was a really hard decision to move in that midfield. Obviously, you had Ndidi, you've got Winks, you've got Skip, and you had Buonanotte um, as the four midfielders against Arsenal. Now, what I've done is I'm thinking this game, we've got to get the best out of some of those players. Kirkez, I think, coming up against Fatawu is a real opportunity to see what Fatawu was made of. Playing Jamie Vardy, I think is totally. I don't think anybody's really complaining too much about that one. Fatawu, I think, has to start in this game. He got a few minutes in the cup. He didn't barely play. He maybe played a minute or two against Arsenal. This is an opportunity to shine. I don't want to see Jordan Ayew, not because I don't like him, until about 60 minutes, and if we're 2-0 up. Because I understand why Steve Cooper likes him, but if we want to get points on the board, Jordan Ayew isn't that dude. If we're playing the cup games, fine. Mavididi didn't have he was kind of quiet against Arsenal, which again, fair enough. This is an opportunity for him to shine. I would play like this. 1-8 really impressed me. And hopefully soon we will see players coming into that position. In El Canoes obviously can play a 10. What could be an option? I think that Wolf and if El Canoes could come in, he could play alongside Wilfred Ndidi, and we saw he naturally drops into those positions against Everton in the number 8 naturally. Maybe Steve Cooper wants to get the best out of him and move him more forward. Buonanotte, I'm pretty sure I've absolutely butchered his name, spelling wise, but I just spell it quickly. I think he deserves to start. I think attacking wise, he's our best player. I've not included Hermansen in this because let's be honest, Hermansen is that guy. Hermansen is the guy that has to start, especially after the way he ended that Arsenal game and it absolutely saved us. 13 shots saved, some brilliant saves in there. And to think that, well, looking at the other side and the other Danish keeper, and well, up to Celtic, Dortmund smashed Celtic 7-1 with Kasper Schmeichel in goal. And then Mads Manson, who's the understudy. Well, is the understudy? I think it would be Kasper, then what's his name? Then Hermansen, then Everson playing for us. So yeah, so he's second in Kajal, but that's going into the international break. This would be a brilliant opportunity for Mads to go, look, I deserve the number 1 place for Denmark. Anyway, because we are coming in again international break, I think it's a great opportunity for us to again play some decent football. Now, if we look at the positions for Bournemouth and what their previous results were, let's get to this. They've had a bit of where's it gone? Scores and fixtures. No, I've lost it now. So yeah, so just some again, some good. Now my thing's frozen. Hold on. So yeah, so I think Bournemouth, we should be looking at going for the win. I don't want to see us defensive and super conservative. This is an opportunity for us to pick up points, and I want to see a team reflected in that. If you're asking me, yes, you're going to put Ricardo Pereira back in the team, but I think we all know that move JJ to the left. And something interesting to mention: JJ doesn't deserve to be dropped. Really, really good player. But if you notice who striked the ball, it was JJ and how he took it and how he put it beautiful with his left foot. So it shows he's got his left foot on there and he's played part of the time for Luton on the left hand side. He can play both. And then drop Christensen, I think would be a really good move for us. But the reason why, and then coming into midfield, the reason why I dropped Oliver Skip, not because I think his Skip is a bad player. I just think that Winks is going to be the player that's been in the team longer. He knows how to move, etc. Even though he does look a bit disheartened, I think he wants to play in a double pivot, and I think that's how he would get the best out of him. But because we play in this way that he's kind of on his own, he can A, be marked out of the game and see the game by, and B, um, his style is more for possession, not for counter attack and lack of possession. What kind of football are we going to see? Are we going to see a team that's going to go, oh, we're going to go into our shell and try and play on the counter a little bit, or let them have possession of the ball? Or are we going to have possession of the ball and try and do something with it? I've not seen enough of that, to be honest. And we're going to try and break the teams down. And I think Bournemouth are a team realistically, and this is, if I don't care if people want to hammer for this, we could realistically finish above them. If things go our way with the players we've got, with the squad we've got, we can finish above them. But in order to do that, we need to beat the teams like that. Now, when we don't have the points deductions not coming, potentially there is one coming for the EFL for the championship season last year. That's something else entirely. But yeah, I just, this is a real opportunity for us to go out there and prove what we've got. And I want to see an attacking team. I want to see a team give and drive. Because we can't afford to drop any more points. It's not completely do or die. That's more the likes of potentially Everton, with David Moyes potentially lines up if Sean Dyche goes. Gary O'Neill is another one as well. So other teams in other positions will be in a struggle position. So yeah, so it's a little bit of my thoughts at the moment. Again, the team I would play, Okoli has started to grow into the game. I'd like to see what he can do against that kind of position in against Bournemouth. Christensen, Fast, Justin, Ndidi, Winks as a double pivot, Mavidi and Fatawu with Buonanotte doing the running in behind, doing the number 10 role, giving the freedom. And then Ndidi, what I'd love to see though is if there is a way, obviously, if this was, for example, we'll put this in here, we'll put just in the other side, we'll put here this side. What I'd like to see, potentially, this is something that, and it did work against Arsenal for the very, very minuscule amounts that we had. What happened is that we had a little box in midfield of Ndidi, Winks, Buonanotte, Okoli, and Fast as these four. Sorry, not Buonanotte. These four: Okoli, Fast, Winks, and Ndidi as a four. What I would like to see is try and go for the game a little bit more and be a little bit more strategic. I think one way you can do that, you can afford to do that, is if we're playing again, you could play the 4-2-3-1, but change things slightly. I think if you're a bit more daring and a bit more brave, you can really unlock teams because you've really got a good place here. So what do I mean? So you've got your Vardy up top, you've got your Fatawu, and this maybe just go, oh, you're copying Enzo. But I think it could really work. You then push Buonanotte to one side, you then push Ndidi up to the other, you then push Winks into the centre, and you bring in Ricardo to provide that double pivot. Now, I know this is very similar to how we looked under Enzo Maresca, but I think this would work against that team because then you've got your 5 and your 5. When we attack with 4 players, it doesn't give enough creativity. And I think, as the games go on, we're going to create less and less because you're only attacking with a 4 rather than a 5. You might have seen that when Anil was talking about that when we do the post-match show. So I know this is always going back to Enzo's style, but I genuinely think this is a team that could work. A lot of these players were playing in these positions for the team just last season. Justin, yes, was used probably as a Vitao position to run up and down. Couldn't really do the wing back. I think he could do this. So let's be honest, I don't know if this will happen. But when we tried to use that box midfield, it worked really well. But we had it lower in the pitch. If we push that box higher and we could overwhelm that midfield, I look at this team and I think, God, that's got some balance to it. The only thing you could say is potentially putting Vestergaard in over a Coley. But what you lack with the possession out from the back, you will make up for with the pace and power of a Coley. Maybe so. There's trade-offs to each, but I think this team would scare teams, and we've got to be a bit braver against the Arsenals and etc. Totally understand. But the next games we've got, the next four, and even if you include the Man United game, let's be honest, they are in shambles at the moment. Man United is imploding, kind of coming in on itself. This could be a really good opportunity to capitalize on it. But we've got to go. We've got to be brave. And that system that we've got with the 3 at the back, with the 2 in the inverted, 4 in the 1, it's a bit. Is it too much to ask for Enzo? To Cooper? I don't think so. Do I think he's going to do it? Probably not. But with the people in the team, I think we can get the most out of it. Even if we're not playing Ricardo as that fullback, if there's somebody that can slot in or provide cover, allowing Thingy to move forward, even if it's El Canus coming into that position alongside Winks. But the problem is then you've got to put in Didi as a 10, and I think there's just better 10s out there, Buonanotte, so etc. So I don't know. There's some of my thoughts, and I really hope we can get something out of these next few games because, in my opinion, if we get these losses in a row, let's look at the table. I think genuinely Man United can be a winnable game. We're going to get a couple of hopefully Man United fans to talk about this in the future. Bournemouth, we can definitely pick up points. Southampton, we can pick up points. Nottingham Forest, we could get a point. I can see us losing that game because I think that Nuno is a better manager than Steve Cooper. I still want us to win, by the way. That's on a Friday night. Wednesday, around the 16th of the EFL, I think away at Man United, I think this could be a great opportunity for us to really thrive and see what we're doing. And again, Ipswich. But if that doesn't, if we've got to, I want to get behind the manager and I want to give him something. And I want to get something to go, yes, that's what's getting me behind. And we've seen time again when we've played ball, when we're a bit braver, when we give teams a go, we can be a threat. Because look, I've changed it slightly, but you can see them players going, yeah, I can see what that's doing. But we've got to change it up. We've got to try and inject some substitutions that are going to give something in the game. So El Canus coming on at 90 plus 2 minutes was against Arsenal was not enough. We need to start playing and pushing. If we're going to put Jordan Ayew in, it's going to be for a specific purpose. When we put him against Arsenal, it made the team worse, in my genuine opinion. I like Ayew. I think he could do a good job for us, but I think he made the team worse. We need to start making the most of some of these players and some of these positions and capitalizing on the bad run of form. Now, where Bournemouth are at the moment, yeah, it's very, again, it is very early on in the season. So again, things will change. We are one above the relegation zone. They are in 11th place at the moment. 2 wins, 2 draws, 2 losses. Kind of equal at the moment. So mid-table, which is fair enough. And with that 8 points, obviously they got 3 points against Southampton. But these games, we have to start picking up points. If we come to the end of the Ipswich game after 10 games and we haven't picked up a win, I think I would be saying, look, I thank you, Cooper, but I think it's time to go. At this moment in time, there is time for change. There is time to adapt. I still back him in order to where we're going and what we're trying to do. I still think that he would be, again, I still get behind him because he's still the manager of Leicester City. I want us to do well with this team. But he's got to stop making stupid decisions and start getting some of these players playing the football that we know they can play. So that's my thoughts on the game. A little bit of that. Let me know your thoughts down below. I don't know exactly how Bournemouth set up, but if you click the link in the chat, there is in the description. Sorry, you will also see Anil's channel, who's going to do probably a more in-depth breakdown of Bournemouth than I am. So make sure you check out that one. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. We'll be back for post-match on Saturday. So make sure you go and check that one out. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you in the next video. So goodbye.